All right, let's talk about something that's, well, pretty stressful, dealing with a damaged roof. It's confusing enough on its own, but then you have to navigate an insurance claim. It can feel impossible. So today, we're going to break it all down. This is your playbook, a clear, step-by-step guide to turn that confusion into a solid plan.
1 minute, everything's totally fine. The next, a storm rolls through and you're looking at leaks, missing shingles, a giant headache. That feeling of being completely overwhelmed, it's 100% normal, and it's exactly where our playbook begins.
So the big question is, how do you flip that switch? How do you go from chaos to feeling like you're actually in control of the situation? What is the very first thing you need to do? Let's get right into it. First things first, damage control. These are the absolute must-do steps you need to take immediately, maybe even before you pick up the phone.
Before anything else, your number one job is to stop the problem from getting worse. I'm talking about covering a hole with a tarp, securing anything loose, whatever it takes to mitigate the damage. And here's a pro tip. Keep every single receipt, whether it's for tarps, plywood, or even a handyman's labor. These emergency fixes are almost always covered by your policy, so you definitely want to get that money back.
Okay, so you've stopped the bleeding, so to speak. The immediate threat is contained. Now it's time to officially get the ball rolling. Welcome to Section 2, Initiating Your Claim. You really don't want to wait on this because most policies have pretty specific time limits for reporting damage. So call your insurance company, have that policy number ready to go, and give them a clear, simple description of what happened. And here's a crucial piece of advice. Before you hang up, get that claim number. That number is your golden ticket for tracking everything from here on out.
Now this slide right here is a real game changer. It gets to the heart of how you're going to get paid. You have got to know which of these policy types you have. Replacement cost coverage is the good stuff. It pays for a brand new roof at today's prices. Actual cash value, on the other hand, well, it pays you for the used value of your old roof. Think of it as what your roof was worth right before the storm hit, which, as you can imagine, is a much smaller check.
All right, now we're moving into what I honestly think is the most critical part of this entire process. This is where you lay the foundation for a fair settlement. It's time for Section 3, Building Your Evidence. Time to put on your detective hat, because your smartphone is your absolute best friend right now. Just follow this simple checklist. Get wide shots of the whole roof to show the big picture. Then, zoom in on every single missing shingle, every dent, every tear. Make sure you get multiple angles of each spot. And don't forget the inside. Snap photos of any water stains on the ceiling or walls. You literally cannot take too many photos.
And those photos, they're powerful. But you know what makes them undeniable? Words. A little context goes a long way. So for every picture you take, jot down a quick note. Instead of just a random photo of a torn shingle, your note says, north side of roof, 5-foot section of flashing torn off by wind. See? It creates a rock-solid record.
Now, let's be real for a second. The insurance adjuster who comes out, they work for the insurance company. You need an expert in your corner. And that's where an independent assessment comes in. Getting your own evaluation from a trusted local roofer isn't just a good idea, it's your secret weapon. It gives you a detailed, professional estimate that you can compare directly to what the adjuster says.
So you've done all your homework, you've got your evidence locked and loaded. Now comes the interactive part, Section 4, Negotiating Your Settlement.
Whatever you do, do not let the adjuster inspect your roof alone. You need to be there, with your photos and your notes in hand. Walk them through your documentation. Point to every single spot you're concerned about. You know your home better than anyone, so make sure they see exactly what you see.
And this little table shows you exactly why that's so important. This is where the differences often pop up. The adjuster might estimate shingle replacement at $8,000, but your contractor, who actually knows the local cost of materials and labor, has it at $9,500. It's these gaps that you need to be ready to talk about.
Okay, listen closely to this, because if you take away only one thing from this entire explainer, let it be this. The first offer is just that, an offer. It is a starting point for negotiation. If it doesn't line up with your contractor's estimate and all the evidence you've gathered, you do not have to accept it, period.
So what do you do when that offer comes in too low? You don't just get mad, you take action. You formally request a detailed, line-by-line written explanation for why their numbers are lower than your estimate. This puts the ball back in their court and forces them to justify their figures, which opens the door for a real negotiation.
All right, we are in the home stretch now. Let's say you've gone back and forth and you've finally agreed on a fair settlement amount.
Now we hit the final stage, repairs and the final payout. Okay, this term, recoverable depreciation, trips up so many people, but it's actually pretty simple. The easiest way to think of it is like a security deposit. The insurance company holds back a chunk of the money to make sure you actually use it to, fix the roof. Once you show them proof that the work is done, they release that money to you.
So here's how that whole two-payment thing actually plays out. First, you get an initial check for the actual cash value. That's the depreciated value of your old roof. You use that to get the contractor started. Step 2, you complete all the repairs. Step 3, you send the final contractor's invoice to the insurance company. And then Step 4, they send you that second check for the recoverable depreciation. And that's what makes you whole.
So let's boil this whole playbook down, shall we? The absolute must-dos are: document everything like a pro. Get your own expert assessment from a contractor you trust. Know your policy inside and out, especially if it's replacement cost or ACV. And finally, just be persistent and stay organized. This whole thing is a marathon, not a sprint, and your prep work will absolutely pay off.
Look, following these steps is going to give you the confidence to manage your current claim and get a fair outcome. But it really brings up a much bigger question, doesn't it? Now that you know how the game is played, maybe it's time to pull out your policy and make sure you're actually set up for success before the next storm ever hits.